how necessary is it actually to be using live drums in the first place?
Necessary? I mean, I think that's like just opens the broad question of like what is necessary to create music. It's like I don't know. It's not necessary. If you wanted it to sound more alive, make it more alive. I love live drums. I would 90% of the time say like let's put some live drums on this, even if it's just like, oh, like maybe it just needs like a little hat loop or something. So to me, it's a plug it in, thumbs up.
Right.
Yes.
If you turn something on and off and bypass it, I want it to obviously make it better, but I don't want it to be doing like, whoa, holy shit, now listen to that thing. I want it to be like, yeah, that's clearly better, as opposed to like, dude, without that thing is nothing, dude. Like, it's like, if that's happening, that's kind of an effect thing or something.
And also like what's making room for the low end. Like if you do have this big thumpy fucking like club kick or something that's happening on the verse, do you really need like a bass that's slamming eighth notes? Probably not. Like, or do you need a bass guitar that's gonna get a ton of low end richness? Or can you do something that's up the octave, or maybe like on a bass 6, something that's carrying that tonality but not carrying that frequency subset? Again, that's like arrangement stuff.
Welcome to season 3 of Producer Points. I'm your host, Justin Gamella. Join me as we continue our deep dives and one-on-one conversations with producers, mixers, artists, and songwriters. This season, full episodes are for Producer Pal subscribers. Join the community on Patreon where you'll get more than just those full episodes. All right, let's jump in. This is Producer Points. Live drums. It might be the thing that scares the average producer even more than vocals. Even after doing production full-time for over a decade, I still don't feel like I know what the hell I'm doing. Whether I'm the one actually engineering and recording the drums or getting pristinely recorded drums from someone else, it still makes me sweat. The editing, the phase checking, hitting the compressor just right, it's enough to make even the most experienced producer want to punch a hole through their computer screen. But that's why I am so lucky to have these incredible producers and mixers with extensive drum knowledge here today, not only to teach you listeners a few things, but to answer some of my own questions too. Let's get into it. Our first guest is a Grammy-nominated mixer, producer, and songwriter whose credits span Demi Lovato, Bebe Rexha, Fall Out Boy, and Avril Lavigne. He's been on the pod before more times than I can count at this point. I love him so much, and his perspective on drums from the mixing side and the producing side is exactly why I want him here. Please welcome Scott Robinson. Thanks for being here, buddy.
Thank you for having me. Thank you so much. This is one of the most exciting ones I've been on.
Oh, you know
we'll
what?
see, I guess. I mean, we'll see.
It should be.
But
I'm just going to sit here because
excited.
I don't know anything about drums. I'm so excited. Okay,
yeah,
anyway.
I want to take issue with the intro, first of all. It's like, this gives you nightmare. This makes you want to punch. And this is exciting, dude. This is what I live for.
I
Send me
just
drums.
get nervous. It's anxiety. Our next guest is a producer, engineer, and founder of the Panda Studios, one of the most respected recording spaces in the indie rock and punk world. His credits include Basement, The Story So Far, State Champs, 100th, and The Dangerous Summer. And he is also the founder of Purified Audio. If anyone in this room has an opinion about live drums, it's this guy. Please welcome Sam Pura. Dude, thanks for being here, man.
Hello. Thank you, guys. I'm excited about this.
Yeah. And our last guest, who's actually currently not here, but he will be joining in a little bit. He was a last-minute addition because someone had to drop out. But he'll get in when he gets here. Is an LA-based recording and mix engineer with roots in punk and classical composition from studios in New York, 2 sessions at Capitol Records. He built a career on capturing raw, honest performances and creating spaces where artists can be their most vulnerable. Jon Graber. Hey, thank you. He'll be here later. It's fine.
Jon Graber. I love punk rock and Warped Tour and dick jokes.
That's pretty good. Yeah, he's been on the podcast before. He had a little clip that we shared last week that was kind of, doing a couple numbers on TikTok and Instagram. So I'm glad he's able to do this one. But live drums, like I said in the intro, and like Scott was joking with me, I genuinely do get scared with them because I'm just like, I have no idea what I'm doing. But as Scott was saying, that's what also gets me excited about live drums, is that whenever I get them, I really approach it where it's like, I have no set way of doing this. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm getting it usually from different sources. And I'm just like, kind of like, I do feel like a kid in a candy store where I'm just like, what if I do this and then do this? And I do have enough knowledge and skill now that, yes, I'm editing them correctly. I'm checking for phase. It's usually not an issue when I get it from a very well recorded drum kit, but it happens when someone else was like, hey, I had my buddy record drums for this record, like, can we use it? It's like, I guess so. But where do you guys land on live drums in general nowadays, right? Like, what's your take? Like, drums, there's so many amazing sounding live drum VSTs out there. I have a bunch I love to use. But Scott, man, like, what's your take? Like, how necessary is it actually to be using live drums in the first place?
Necessary? I mean, I think that's like just opens the broad question of like what is necessary to create music. You know, it's like I don't know. It's not necessary. If you wanted to sound more alive, make it more alive. I love live drums. I would 90% of the time say like let's put some live drums on this, even if it's just like oh like maybe it just needs like a little hat loop or something. So to me, it's a plug it in, thumbs up,
Right.
yes, live drums. But obviously, that's not the thing you always want.
Yeah. Sam, I'm
Like
curious. Go ahead.
what's the thrust of the question?
I guess just like, if you had a hot take, like, you don't need live drums anymore, which I know none of us really believe.
Yeah, you don't need shit,
But-
dude. You don't need anything.
Right.
You don't need live drums. You don't need live drums, but
Right.
you should put live drums.
Need and want and like having fun are all different. They all hit different things for my brain depending on what we're doing that day.
Yeah.
Right. And also it depends on where we're at in terms of the production process, right? Like it's why I love having, an addictive drummer or, whatever the millions of other drum things out there. It's like, okay, I'm in a room and I don't have a live drummer right now, but I want that feel or that sound of live drums. And then honestly, like a lot of the time it's, whatever drum set you're using, you end up liking like, oh, the kick and the snare on that thing, just like I built the record around it. So it's really hard to go around it now. So you end up using those even if you end up doing real drums and you just
That's
lot
real.
of times I'll layer that on there. Sam, I know like you've been, and I can edit this out, but you've been hinting on your socials that you're making a drum.
Yeah.
Yeah. So like I feel like you might be a little biased, which is fine. But
Yeah.
what's your take?
I think drums in general, like it's kind of funny to hear you guys kind of chat about it, but like it feels like kind of antiquated. You know what I mean? It's like classical music or whatever at this point. But like I mean, when I got into recording drums or when I just got into producing music in general, I mean, I just remember like there were a few times where you'd play drums at a place and it would have like a lot of like room response and you're just like, Jesus, like this snare like sounds amazing in this room. And I had always been like, fuck, like I think that's the thing that I really need in my life is like if I can get a good drum room and like could build a studio that has like a great drum sound, then I could really like kind of do anything. And like it really goes back to like listening to lots of Brendan O'Brien records and stuff. It's like it's the sound of the drums is really the sound of those records. And so
Yeah, man.
like it like just me and drums in general, it's like what we do is art, and like the way that I choose to make art and the medium that I choose to do it with is with live drums. And like with doing live drums throughout my whole career and throughout all the records, like people know of me from my drum sound and my guitar sounds and like, but it all starts with like the drum sound. And so like I really like I don't know how to do what I do unless I'm working with my drum sounds. It's like one of those like the secret is being yourself. Like, the more I like put mics up and do the thing that I think sounds good, like that's the best ending result at all times. It's not like some trick or secret that I learned from someone. It's like once I applied the thing that I did, it sounds great. So like for me, like I can't get a great thing unless I have my drum sound happening, and like I've had to rely on like my samples and mixes for other stuff where I haven't recorded those drums for a long time. And like, so I'm, heavily invested in drums, even down to like the tuning of it. Like I'm a freak about tuning drums. And like, there's like what I, like even just with tuning and even like the process of how I record drums, like I record like drums so many different ways, but like the amount of variables and the amount of like fucking nerd that I've done on drums and how far I've gone down the path. Like you never want to go full, whatever, but I've gone there, you know what I mean? Like, and I continue to go there. And like, even things like just doing live drums recently for a record, it's like, you find a new favorite mic that you're like, yeah, wow, I'm like really impressed by this mic. And then all of a sudden, like you get another drummer in there and you're like, that's the worst sounding one on there. I guess I'm going back to this. Like, it's always, you have no idea. It's this organic like experience that like is never the same and it's never possible to like completely recreate. And like, that's kind of the fun of it is like chasing the butterfly. But like also knowing how to like
capture the butterfly every single time. You know what I mean? Even though it's going to be a different process.
Yeah, I think I always equate live. I mean, it's really recording any instrument live that you get better at it just through reps because you're. It's not always about. "Oh, I always record my drums, or I always record my vocal, or I always record my acoustic guitar like that." But I've recorded, in my case, I've recorded a vocal 10,000 times at this point, so I have
Yep.
enough knowledge of okay, well, when I did it this last time, when the singer that also had a bassy kind of vocal, I moved the mic back and it sounded better. And so it's like this,
Yeah.
just like the collection of knowledge that, unfortunately, most producers just don't have access to, recording live drums, whether it's because they don't play live drums, they don't have the proper space for it, they don't have the mics for it. Recording, guitars or vocals is I need one microphone and a okay sounding room, and we're good to go. And drums is
Yeah.
technically you can do it with one microphone and a decent sounding room, but that, you know what I mean? It's that's
The material that people are referencing is not
Right.
that. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Not even close.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. If you're trying to make a cool sounding record and sound unique, yeah, that's one way to do it, and you probably will get something really cool, to be quite honest.
Sure.
And I guess what advice would you give to people, right, who are maybe don't have access to record drums all the time, but what's advice that maybe you would give to a mixer or producer who wants to get better at mixing live drums, just in general, if they don't have the access to it? What are some things that maybe I know some things that I did, I'll just give an example really quick to get it going, is that I was a big fan of, back in the day, Superior Drummer. And the reason why I really like Superior Drummer is because Addictive Drummer is great because it's just it just sounds really good. The second you turn it on, you pick a preset and you're like, oh, okay, this is cool. I don't have to do much. Superior Drummer is, and this was I was doing this 10 years ago, was okay, these are all extremely well recorded drum samples, and I would never use one of their presets, and I would always just mix it in. And that's how I got good at mixing quote unquote live drums, is that I had what felt like live drums. I had a room mic, I had all this stuff, and I had to learn how to do it. So that's something that I did. Scott, was there something that you did as you were,
Yeah. I
working?
mean, you probably got to that stage earlier than I did because I came up as an engineer and as a drummer. And so it was always the recording process and the editing process of live drums. And so when I sort of shifted into doing more pop music and I was using samplers or virtual kits to augment my other programming, I used a lot of all of that stuff, man. And I think there's so many sounds that are useful in that context where you can just squash the crap out of some live drums and push them up under some program drums to really liven up the feel, bring up a lot of energy. So I think that's a cool technique. When it comes to actually cutting and mixing live drums, I literally don't know where to begin aside throw up some mics, see how it sounds. Or I mean, to back up, and this is true of every performance, but I think drums especially, it's the performance really matters more than anything.
Mhm.
And if we talk about the difference between a 1 mic recording and a 4 mic recording or a 10 mic recording, the bigger variable is still the performance, how the drummer hits the snare, how the drummer hits the cymbals. Timing obviously is another conversation. We can edit that, but just sonically speaking, and the sound that comes off the kit, it has to be good. It sucks fixing a bad performance. It sucks, and it never feels right, and it never sounds good. It can be done. I think to speak to just general advice, maybe this is a hot take. I honestly don't think producers should bother. I think it's a waste of your energy. I think it's a fucking rabbit hole to go down to really learn how to engineer drums, both tracking, editing, mixing, the whole process, understanding the phase relationships, understanding the bleed on different mics, understanding how to tune drums and set up drums. I mean, that's a whole art in itself. And I think I mentioned this on the last pod. I was just I think producers have way too much on their plate right now because so many jobs to do, and it's too much to learn. It's too much to get good at.
It's budgets have gotten so small that it's just producer, you do everything, right? And it's I guess I'd rather not. I'd rather have, my buddy who's amazing at doing drums, come in and do the drum thing. And even, we're going off tangent, which is fine, but I listened to the new Phoebe album. We're going to talk about it later in the current events. And like you see the credits and you're like, oh, they got people who are good at their jobs to do this
Yeah.
album. It's like they listed like there's literally every record has like 10 engineers on it. And it's like, oh, they put the time in to like make it sound good. They got great players. I don't know where
Dude,
they
these are
record.
dense credits. Wow.
I know, but it's like
Mhm.
mostly, like players. It's like
There's a
it's
list of like 12 engineers on some of these songs.
right. That's
Yeah.
what I'm saying. Yeah. So,
Yeah.
and maybe it's just because like every instrument was recorded a different day, and who the fuck knows? Like, I don't know the process. I'm sure we'll find out eventually. But it was like really nice to see that like even the top of the top producer Jack Antonoff, right? Like, what love him or hate him, he's at the top of the game right now, and it's like I think he's winning in my opinion because he's working with bigger budgets and he can say like, no, we're gonna get this producer, this engineer to like help me engineer. We had Gabe Simon on the podcast, and like the thing that he, one of his main engineers, is it? Oh God, I'm so sorry, I forgot this wrong. Ryan Hewitt. He's like, I can get these sounds without him. Like he's like, there's no way. He's like, those records were not sound as good without this engineer here. Anyway, back to the main topic. Sam, what's some like advice you would give to like younger producers who are kind of like starting on their live drum journeys to like get their reps in to just understand live drums better?
Yeah, there's like so many areas that we could go over on this, but like I think really kind of looking back at my drum experience, if you could start with just like a couple of mics as opposed to like overwhelm yourself with a bunch, I think that's kind of one of the best things is like if you could find a great kick, snare and like a single room mic thing that you're stoked on, like out of 3 mics, and like figure out your placement and your thing that you're like set up with, that's already going to get you so much further because like truthfully, you don't even need a second kick mic or a second snare mic.
Yeah, dude.
Like at that point, you could start doing like your overhead shit and like, split it up into stereo, yada, yada, and going as ape shit as you want to go. But really like getting the core of those sounds and those fundamental things sounding great is like really where it's at. And then what I would say is what I find like funny is it's like somewhat still somehow a controversial like opinion, but going back to like learning about how Peter Gabriel made records and like recording just the kick and recording just the snare and then recording just the cymbals, and then you have all of those channels of like beautiful ambience to be able to play with that have no cross pollination with each other. Like that's actually what modern producers want to be fucking with anyways, because they're already used to that. You know what I mean? So like if you can already like design your stuff in that way where like sick, how would you just make this kick sound amazing and just focus on just the kick and then just overdub the snare? You know what I mean? Like
It's so funny you say that because like literally in my early days, that was like I knew that and I was like, I'm doing this because I don't know how to not, I don't know how to do this all together. You know what I mean? Like
Right.
I don't know
I don't know how
to
to do it without
yeah,
fucking
and
it
I was
up.
like, we'll record them one at a time. And like my drummer like looked at me like I was crazy, but I'm like, just trust me, it'll be easier for me. So,
yeah.
yeah.
Well,
Yeah,
and
I mean,
I think
I love doing it that way.
that's really interesting that you bring both of those things up because to me that feels like a really cool like two-pronged approach to getting in. Because on the one hand, like you said, like getting samples and just getting individual elements sounding good and like understanding like how to EQ the boxiness out of a kick and how to make a
Yeah.
tom not sound fucked up because they just kind of do. Like,
Yeah,
and
exactly.
then on the other side, like coming from a very natural perspective, it makes me think more like, well, okay, what you're going to end up focusing on is like what you're used to focusing on, which is the performance. And so like
Yeah.
you need to learn how to coach a drummer if you're going to produce a drummer the same way that you learn how to coach a singer and like learn the vocabulary that they understand, learn how to describe the thing you're looking for,
Yeah.
know when they need to hit hard and what that sounds like with the levels correct, and know when to hit soft and what that sounds like with the levels correct and all that. Because the engineering side of it is just, you know, like I said, a rabbit hole. You can go down
Yeah,
forever,
absolutely.
like all of the phase stuff. So like these basic things, like, okay, what are the shapes that I'm trying to make and like develop the taste for the sounds by like recording individual things, and then like develop the skill of coaching an actual drummer and capturing a performance as almost like a separate endeavor.
Totally.
That's
Yeah,
cool, man.
Scott, I know you were a drummer. Sam, were you a drummer by trade before you got into
No,
producing?
I'm totally not. I just play guitar and
Yeah.
bass, but like I'm like I know that you can't get great guitar and bass and record sounds unless you get great drum sounds. And so
Yeah.
then like that's where like I've played so many drums on so many records that people don't even know, and like filled in, and like drummer goes home and I'm like, oh, that fill sucks. So then I just do just the kick, and then just the snare, and then just the cymbals, and then guess what? The fill is amazing, and it like, and then that takes a life of its own, and you start doing that all the time. But yeah, like I would never say I'm a drummer, but I can hit a snare amazing and make it sound amazing. You know what I mean? And like, oh
Which
yeah,
is a
dude.
big deal, dude. Like,
If you want me to just focus on a kick, I fucking got that, dude. I can make that kick sound awesome, dude. And so like that's what I do. You know what I mean? Like, and that's what I think sounds great. You know?
Oh,
that's
so
cool, man.
funny.
Because again, it sort of brings me back again to like how I think producers are comfortable thinking about singers and thinking about the drums the same way, basically, where
Yeah.
it's like, okay, if you need to punch in a word, or like, you know, if you're not hitting it right, like it's not going to sound good. And the same with the vocal, where it's like, okay, maybe the singer's like used to singing very quietly in their bedroom, as opposed to like, you know, belting out this line because of the emotional aspect or because sonically it sounds beautiful. The same thing is like so true of drums, where I think there's a way that you need to play in the studio, and drummers
Yeah.
often need to like learn how to play for the studio, and it's almost a different skill set. You know, it's like
Yeah.
building on the skill you have.
Well, I think it's also important to like separate like with all due respect, most of the clients that I work with are whatever they're attempting to play is at the peak of their performance ability. You know what I mean?
Yeah, of
So
course.
like we know that they're being like, yo, dude, like this is like a hard thing for me to play. And it's like, okay, like, well, then what really matters to me is the intention and the arrangement and the idea of what you're doing. And if we are recording and preserving this, then right now we need to limit the human flaws that you are exhibiting that do not make it sound the way that you intend. You know what I mean? And so that's where like it comes into like splitting parts up, slowing sections down. You know what I mean? Like there's so many little tricks that you could do, but like a lot of drummers are just like, what do you mean? Like that is how it's done in records. It's like, oh yeah, dude, and even crazy. You know what I mean? So that
Yeah.
like the studio is such like a gorgeous like tool that like these things are the fun part of making records for me, but they're the stressful part for drummers. You know what I mean? Because they like have so much pride in the thing that they do and doing the thing. And it's like, but we could make it so much cooler if we just use the magic trick together and be best friends. Like this is making a record. It's not documenting you as a Broadway performer performing live. You know what I mean? Like I always say, it's like, I'm not trying to like capture Hamilton being performed on stage. I want to make Star Wars, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, totally, dude.
It's the same thing with singers. Sometimes they're like, you know, they'll say like, oh, I can't sing that live without taking a breath. I'm like, yeah, but we're making a record right now.
Yeah, punch
And
that.
it's right.
Yeah.
And it's like, that's fine. And so, yeah, like even, you know, sometimes what I do when I'm in the actual room with drummers and I'm like, I'm more, you know, the song isn't as fleshed out. It's like a drummer who's like just learned the song, you know, a day or two ago. I do the same thing even if a drummer like has been playing the record for like a year on tour and they're about to record it. It's like, let's do a take, you know, you know, do your thing, just play it, like have fun. And then let's do a couple takes where it's like no fills. You just play the song. Let's just like play it nice and straight. You can focus on the pocket, do the thing. And then, okay, now we can like do some takes where it's like, you're like really trying to impress some people. And then we'll go in later. And I always try and like make it easy. Like, it's just like, none of us really know what we want yet. Like, let's just like give ourselves the flexibility to go in later and be like, oh, actually, you know what? Like that fill is too much. That the one that you thought was sick, it's like, it's fighting the vocal now that the vocal is like all done, you know, and things like that. And
that's also another great point, by the way, because
Yeah.
what a lot of people find strange about what I do as well too is I prefer to record drums last.
Yeah.
Like I
Drums
really,
last is cool, dude.
yeah,
Drums
and
last
like,
is
you know,
cool.
last.
Yeah.
And like it sounds sacrilegious based upon the way that we know of making records. You know, it's like, no, dude, you start a recording process by putting a microphone on the kick drum that you don't even know what the arrangement is, and you record the song. That's how it goes. You know what I mean? Like, but it is
no
such
bass tone.
like,
Don't worry about how they interact.
Yeah, exactly. It has no basis for that. So that's where it's like, dude, if you can like actually work out your arrangement and get it to the point, because then that's where like you can really hear how much tuning matters within the song, and then how much like the arrangement really matters. Like, dude, that guitar part is always like coming in on that upbeat, and that kick is trying to do the down. You're not pushing it. It needs to be 1/8 note before the downbeat. Like we're doing the wrong beat. You know what I mean? It's like, it's really obvious that those things like start flamming and becoming really apparent. But if you had done drums first, you'd just be like, well, whatever, that's the drum beat. So
right. That's the drum.
record.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, and
I
that's
still
fun because like, go ahead, Scott.
go ahead. No, you go ahead. No,
I
you
was
go
gonna say,
ahead.
and that's like where like the value of having a lot of these like tools, like these like drum VSTs come in, where it's like you can build out your arrangement and you can like play pretend with these like drum kits, where it's like, okay, I this isn't the exact pocket, this isn't the exact fill I'm gonna do, but like this is here as a placeholder, and we can make our arrangement correct and play around with that. And I'm the same way, where it's like I want I'd rather record drums over like the final vocal, so you can like play off what that final vocal is doing
Yeah.
more than anything else.
Yeah.
Which is like, yeah.
For me,
That's
like
got-
as you know, I don't produce a ton anymore, but the last like rock records that I've produced, I'm doing drums last because I want it to be malleable as the rest of the parts develop. I want to be able to move stuff and change stuff and figure it out and try stuff and like fuck around with it and change the tempo and like add 2 beats or whatever, and then have a finished thing to play drums to. Because I do still value, I think, to some extent, like the performance of a drum take across the song, as opposed to like, here's the loop, here's the loop, here's the loop. Like I do want to get a thing that's cohesive and has a flow. And it's a lot harder to do. Let me say this. It's a lot easier to do that if the map is already there. If it's mapped out, you're like, oh, this is a song I can learn, rather than like, let's insert part for this part. Let's insert a part for this part. So I like drums last, man. I support that.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, because we were, for a long time, like we were all came from like this like emo rock world, for lack of a better term, and it's like a lot of the records were written in like garages, or like practice spaces, and so it's like that's the pre-production, and then you get in, and then sometimes like you get in with the producer, like a Sam here, and it's like they come in and they're like, okay guys, like you're so close, we got to like make these couple changes in the arrangement, but that's like just like not records are so, for better or worse, they're like very rarely made like that.
Sam, I'm really
pre-production isn't a
curious.
thing anymore.
That's what I was about to ask, dude, because I don't
Yeah.
work with a lot of bands in that context anymore. But I was going to ask you, like, is pre-production dead? It kind of should be.
Oh
Like,
yeah, well,
you do it in
so
the box, right?
So that's where like it's strange for a lot of people who don't really understand that like what I've had to do is bake pre-production and production into the same process. You know what I mean? So
totally.
like the ideal thing is like if I'm gonna work on a song with you, you're gonna come in and I'm gonna be like sit down on my couch and show me what the song is. And like if it's on guitar, you're gonna be like, oh, this is what I do. And it's like, sick. Do you have like a vocal for that? Awesome. Like let's record the scratch vocal. Let's record this like DI guitar part with no fucking tones on it, so that like I can now be in Pro Tools and be like, sick, this is the intro, and then it's X2, and then it goes into verse, and then it goes into X2 of the verse, and map everything out, and then be like, okay, great. Now that that's sick, let's talk about how the bass goes, and like you can't do any of that if you don't have the vocal. You know what I mean? It's like, because like people will be like, yeah, I don't know if that fill works. It's like, well, what is the fucking vocal? Like, is he singing there? Then like, why are you doing a fill? Is he not singing there? Then why? Then we should do this. So yeah, basically like, because we're changing up the guitars as we're doing it, you got to do it DI, because you're going to fucking change the tone, because you're going to change the performance and the take and whatever. So it's like everything has to be like as dry DI data into the computer so it's malleable, and then the sound design portion happens after that's all done. You know what I mean? It's like once the data, it's like give me the MIDI arrangement data for the whole thing, and now we'll fucking run all the MIDI through everything to make it sound sick. Like that's exactly the ideal way of making a record, because there is no pre-production,
Yeah.
Can I push back a little bit? Like, what are the scenarios in which you think? Sorry to be interviewer, but like Sam, what are the scenarios in which you think it really does make sense to like separate those processes? Like, do you think there's some sacrifice in like not really capturing performances in the same way, or not using real amps, or like or like having the ability to over edit in certain capacities? Like, is there stuff like that where you feel
so I'll give you a total transparent example, which is the record that I'm producing right now. But basically like it's starts with drums. The drums are really complicated, like really savant, like phenomenal player. And so it's like, all right, dude, like how are we editing this? Like, are we gonna fucking be like slicing this and editing this, or are we gonna be elastic audioing this? Like, what's the deal on this? Because like, this is
none
real.
of the above.
Yeah, exactly. And so like, the band's like, we don't really want to edit it. We want it to be pretty natural, but also at the same time, like we're talking about like how I'm saying like verse and then X2. It's like, hey, can we punch in the middle of that before it gets to X2? It's like, nah, dude, you should just do that whole section, make that whole section great. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So then all of a sudden, once you get all
It's
these
gotta feel
punches
right.
happening, all of the things are now accordioning to being like, if the tempo is 185, now the tempo of everything is actually 183 because everything's played a little too fast. So now you're going to have to start stretching everything with elastic to start doing that. So then like once that's all done and you have to like go through the sacrifices of like, do we use elastic? Do we cut this part? How do we do this? Like once that's all done, then it's like, this is great. This is perfect. Okay, great. Then as we're recording bass, the guitar player is like, oh, he played it like that on drums. He played it wrong. And it's like, dude, you were in that room, double checking every single moment. And like, I don't think there's anything played wrong.
Well,
Now
that's
you just
kind of like,
realize that it's not played right. You know what I mean? So like,
I kind of
then
think
we
there's
have to
magic in
fucking,
that.
yeah, but there should be magic, but instead what it is an intense emotional weight moment of panic for the artist who now is like, can you grab hits from the other parts? Did you record samples of just the dry kit? Can we program it and make it? It's like, no,
Nah,
dude, it
dog.
is what it is. You know what I mean? So like that's the thing is like I wouldn't care and I would be like, it is what it is, but they care. But they're also not the ones who are willing to go through the process to get the coverage necessary to make sure that if you care, that those things don't happen. You know what I
Right.
mean? Like,
Yeah,
if
yeah.
that was such a concern, why are we committed to doing it this way? You know, so that's the thing is it's like it has limitations. And so then now we're talking about like, you know, this we're talking about drums, but now I'll
Right.
just give a brief guitar thing. Even with my like guitar DI process, like this guy's like, hey man, like I fucking get the tones and I set up and I play into the amp and like that's my shit. It's like, cool, man, not a problem. And then he spends an hour and a half doing that for every single guitar part, and we only get through 4 to 6 guitar parts in a day.
Mhm.
So it's
Yeah.
like, I know that if it was just DI, I could have finished at least a song and a half, maybe 2 songs, and just smashed this out. And then if we like would sit here and do the reamp process, it would take 20 to 30 minutes per guitar part to get the tone and reamp this and be done. I know it'd be exponentially faster, but if this is the way that's going to create the magic, then sure. But he's frustrated in the process. He's needing guidance. You know what I mean? So it's like, dude, like I like to push back against my own self, but then it also always yields the best end result and experience for everyone as well, too. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like,
that's
I
big.
think it's just a true modernized version of respecting their time, the talent, the budget, and the actual fucking vision of what we're capable of, you know?
Yeah. I mean, listen,
Yeah, I think it's
everything.
also
Go.
I think it is also such an interesting distinction between like producing a band that has a drummer versus
Yeah.
like cutting live drums for a record that you're producing for an
Sure.
artist, you know?
Yeah.
And yeah, I think that those, like I think people need to sort of like figure out where they stand in that and what their role is because the job I think is very different.
Well, yeah.
It's what is the intent? You know what I mean?
Right. It's the difference between like me as a producer, like working with an artist who really wants to play a guitar part that they maybe shouldn't be playing versus like me bringing in a buddy who I know is great at guitar and how that session goes. Like not even the playability that they have, but it's just like how they take notes. It's like, oh, this is a paid job for me. I'm going to do whatever you need me to do, you know? And like, if you want me to do it like this, I'm going to do it like that. Or if you want me to like play it like that, you know? Yeah. And it's like, just to go off what Sam was saying, it's like everything in life there's a give and take. You know, it's if you do it one way, you're going to get some of that, but if you do it the other way, you're going to get some of that. So it's like the modern way of I just think it's like the modern way of making music is all about like flexibility. Not everyone has endless time, endless budget. You know, it'd be one thing if like you have all this money and you're paying me 6 figures to make a record with you for 6 months. Sure. I'll do whatever you want. We have all this time. Great. But if it's like what Sam was saying, it's like, all right, man, like I know how this works. And like, you got me for like, what is it? 6, 8, 10 hours today. Like, you got to trust me a little bit. Like, I kind of know what, like, I know you have like a certain vision of this, but I also have, you know, like 10, 15, 20 years of experience doing this. And like, you know, and then if I'm wrong, you can always come back and do it again. But, or just come and have the song practice for, you know, countless thousands of hours. So when you come in here, it's perfect every time. But
which will never happen, you know,
Yeah,
because
exactly.
also like that's the thing too is like your definition of preparation is not their definition of preparation. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, and they'll never understand that until it's experienced. And even when it's
Yeah.
experienced, they're still not going to fully absorb and understand that because it just doesn't translate, you know?
Yeah, dude. Did you guys ever watch that? Oh, I'm gonna forget the name of the documentary. But it's like the Foo Fighters documentary when they went back and they were like, "Oh, we're gonna do this record on tape," and like at
Yeah.
Dave's house, I forget.
Wasting
But
Light.
yeah, basically, yeah, that was the album. And I guess it was the whatever. But it was so funny. The producer Butch Vig was just like, "Yeah, guys, if we're doing this, like, practice the fuck out of your parts, cause like," and they did. To give them credit, they did. They're also the they're also the Foo Fighters. So there's that aspect of it. But it's like, kind of that's what I would tell people too nowadays. If they like want to come in and do it live, I very respectfully say like, make sure you practice because like doing something live is like no fucking joke. Like it is very hard to do. And
yeah, the kids aren't ready, man. They ain't ready.
Dude, even like myself.
Yeah, I mean it's
yeah,
it's just it's a hard climate too to like compete with doing just a lazy like whatever, I just did what I did type of thing, you know, and then be like, why did that not work out? It's like, well, there's like a lot of context and a lot of like references that we're not like actually like taking into account that you're trying to like be considered against, you know?
Yeah, I mean, it's just how music is made nowadays. It's like, again, like what I was saying like 15, 20 years ago with all these bands. It's like, yeah, they were always, you know, like speaking for myself, like I was in a room with the guys and we were playing these songs like God knows how many times before we even started recording it. So when we were going into a studio, it wasn't that like we were like, all right, we really got to practice our instruments and get ready. It's like, oh no, we just like have played this song thousands of times already. So it's just in our heads versus like now how music is made. It's like people come to my studio and we're like, all right, we're playing it that day and what end, you know, what we're recording that day, a lot of time is what ends up being on the record. So I try and like give myself like the flexibility where it's like, okay, I'm very rarely like using an amp in the studio day of. I will sometimes, but it's like I'll record a DI, and if I ever want to record it on the amp, I can go through that process. A lot of the time I will go through the Kemper and I'll just like write down what the settings are, you know, whatever. But I'm even with the Kemper, I'm using less and less. And the same thing with like drums. It's like I'm gonna just put down some kind of VST just for today. And like I said, like because we're gonna get used to it, I'll probably use some kind of drum sound from that original kick. Usually the snare ends up saying so you do something like cool to it. Looking for another way to support what we do here at Producer Points? Head over to our Sound Better storefront or our Patreon where you can find a bunch of great things to get from us. What are those things, you may ask? You can find production and vocal production templates made by yours truly. You'll also be able to find a bunch of other things that I'll be adding there in the coming months, including mentorship, songwriting advice, or anything else you guys would like on there. Let me know. Producer Pal subscribers will be able to get additional discounts on the Patreon only, not the Sound Better. All right, gang, back to the show. I'm curious if you guys have any advice for producers and mixers who are getting drums back from other people. What are maybe like the first 2 to 3 steps that you guys do that you're like checking off your list that you do every time when you get drums that you didn't record that you're about to go and mix? Scott, you're shaking your head, so I'm going to go
check
with
the phase. You check the phase.
Yeah.
That's the first thing you do is you check the phase. I think everybody kind of has their own process for it. I think a pretty easy starting point to do that is just start with the overheads, pull up your overheads, pull up the snare with the overheads, or pull up the kick with the overheads, and then flip the polarity on the kick, flip the polarity on the kick, see which one sounds better. Maybe look at an RTA if it's helpful for you, and then repeat with the snare and just kind of bring things one at a time. Make sure the polarity is in the better position with the overheads. I think that's like the easiest place to see the biggest gains quickly.
So for me, like, what do you mean by like check the polarity?
Like just flip the polarity and see which one's better. Because like obviously you could go into like time aligning and like getting certain frequencies in phase, but
God,
to just
this
start
is how
from like
tired
a very
my brain is. The fucking polarity, Jesus Christ.
I know. Well, now I'm like the listeners aren't going to understand, so maybe it's the little circle button with the X through it.
Yeah. I just say like flip the phase, but the polarity. Yes,
Flip the
polarity.
phase.
But
Flip the phase.
yeah,
Sorry.
flip the phase.
Apologies.
Yes.
Yeah,
I mean,
he's an engineer. He's speaking like a fucking engineer.
technically that's incorrect. Flip the phase. You're not
Yes.
flipping the polarity. Yeah.
Right. Yes. Sam, what about you? You're getting drums from some guy in a band who's like,
Okay,
I got
yeah,
this.
so-
what are you checking?
Okay, like anytime I get a mix project for another person, it's like, all right, let's pull up the drums and let's see what we got, and I have templates, so I just load it in. It's like, you got your kick in, you got your kick out, you got your snare top, you got your snare bottom, you got your toms, you have like a hi-hat. They probably have like the
Mute.
overheads. They probably have they probably have one mono, maybe they have a stereo. And so then I basically put all that in there, and I just start with I just kind of put everything up and just kind of like check if it's what's even happening. You know what I mean? And then it's basically like, all right, first thing you got to do is like you open up the kick and you look at the kick and you want to make sure that the first kick hit is going up and not down. That's the biggest thing, is you want your kick hit going up, because your low end, it wants to be pushing the speaker out, not sucking it in, right? So once the kick is like that, it's like, all right, sick. That's my kick sounds good, like awesome. And then what I usually do is I'll use like strip silence and a couple of like techniques, but I'll basically like create a gate so that I'm like gating things correctly, and then have like that set. Usually I don't end up using their second mics on kicks. You could try to phase align that with time align. Usually doesn't sound that great. It's usually something that I just mute, and I'm like, all right, sick, I'm gonna put a cool sample in along with this as well too. Like I'll use their thing, but it's gonna we're gonna rely on more sample. Then snare top. Funny thing is, usually snare top goes bottom because you're hitting the head, so it's going away from you. So in order to be in phase with everything, the snare top one needs to be going bottom instead of top. And then
See, I'm learning something right now.
Right? Yeah, exactly.
Well, think about it, dude. Like the head is going down.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, and
So
from
the
mic,
waveform starts in the negative.
So you're like, those are the first kind of signs that like, those are those are the normal phase points. Like those are okay. Like now we're gonna start checking everything else from that and making sure they're in phase. I'm a huge bottom snare fan.
Dude, get out.
Yeah, I know.
I'm leaving.
I don't know why it's such a controversial thing. I love a bottom snare.
I do, and I love a bottom snare, but I do think that is like one of the hardest things to like figure out a way that you like to do it, and I think everybody finds
sure. I think I just like I like the texture that a bottom snare gives. I like that it doesn't really sound kind of like honky tomish. It's just like. And I feel like I can get almost a whole drum sound from just a bottom snare if I compress the shit out of that. Like once that's kind of done, then like you got to check the overheads, you got to start checking the rooms, and then now like this gets me into like auto align and stuff. Like on my drums at my place, like my room mics are like so far away that like when you're editing them, like the transients are like so fucking far away from the edit point. So like after I'm done doing edits, I have to like nudge those so that like when you solo them, they don't sound like they have like blips of silence happening before it, because it's like so. So anyways, point is if you use auto align for that, it will just like sound like it'll fuck all that up for people. So then like those artifacts will become even more apparent if they did editing and stuff like that. So like auto align, I find it like I've never gotten a good result with auto align, but people like are pretty gung ho about it. But I've like it just has never worked for me. And then mainly like after that's done, then I really start being like, all right, what's the key of the song? Sick. I'm gonna pull up my drum samples and go through my tuned drum samples and try to put in like a kick that is in the tonic of the song and a snare that's in the fifth of the song, and like really start working with those. And really what I'm using my snare samples and my like kick samples for is the ambience. Like it's not even really the direct sound. It's like to get this ambience around the sound to be like consistent, because like their close sounds like are fine. But like if you're just replacing them, it just starts to sound like a replaced drum kit. It just doesn't like whereas people are like, sick, samples are cool, but it's like samples are cool to augment and help, but like not to be like my drum sound is fine because now it's just drum samples. It's like that sucks, dude. That's not even fucking fun, you know? So anyways, I like using ambient samples and stuff like that. So it's really like figuring out that to make it all work together, then gating it correctly, and then adding in my samples to like give it
a life where like when I play it, it all kind of lives in a cohesive space. Does that help?
That was great. Yeah, I mean,
I mean,
I
it's
love when I learn new things. Scott, what were you gonna say?
it's so crazy because I feel like any segment of that we could go into a full podcast about like how to
Yes.
do that part of it. And again, it's just like such a deep topic to take on as a producer that's not producing live drums yourself regularly. Like for people that do like the songwriting producer thing, like you do, Justin, it's like, man, you just got to get an engineer and a drummer. And there's so many like drummers that can engineer themselves. Like that is the route. And while I find this like such an awesome and interesting topic, I think for like, I don't know if this is for your audience in the way that like a lot of the other stuff is, except to advise like, hey, like maybe this is too deep of a topic.
Yeah. This is a huge rabbit hole. Yeah.
Yeah, like decide for yourself if this is a rabbit hole that's worth going down for you in your career, because it definitely might not be.
Yeah, I mean, I also just think like speaking as a producer, people are wanting, including myself, live drums more and more. I do think it's becoming uh such a big part of like modern sounding music is that funny enough live drums are coming back. You have artists like
Yep.
Olivia Rodrigo, like live drums on the entire album, and they sound amazing. You look at even like country, as much as I like to like shit on country, it's like a lot of those are live drums and they sound really, really good. Except for the shitty AI ones. My point saying is that they're becoming more and more wanted, and I think it's so important for producers to know and understand. Like, not necessarily, I don't even think we need to know as producers how to record them, but because most of the time, what it is, it's like, hey, I have this guy who's played on thousands of records already. He's going to record them and send you perfectly sounding drums. How do you work with those? And you either know how to or you don't. And a lot of the times, if you're working with a guy like Aaron Sterling, you're like, all right, great. I really don't have to do much. This sounds awesome. And then sometimes it's like you'll get someone who's like, okay, this was played awesome, but like these drum recordings, which is good, are like really raw sounding, but they are amazing sounding. And now I have to go in and shape them and make them my own. And that's how we go into the next topic here. We're pausing here on the free feed, but the conversation keeps going on our Patreon. Become a Producer Pal subscriber, and you'll get the full episode, plus everything else we've got going on over there. The more Producer Pals we get, the more content we can create for our subscribers. You can find the link in the show notes. All right, back to finish the rest of the episode. We do this on our roundtable episodes. I'm very into showing off indie plugins. No one pays me to do this. I reach out to people. I'm just like, hey, let me try out your plugin. I'd love to talk about it on the podcast. And if I like it, I talk about it. First plugin, this one just came out. A little controversial because it is AI based, but to me, it's very ethically used AI, in my opinion. We can discuss it after. It's I Am Choir by MI Audio. It's funny, I didn't realize it when I reached out, but I know I worked with the founder years ago. He goes by Young Spielberg now, but he
Oh
his
yeah,
real
I
name
know that
is
dude.
Lenny Skolnick. Anyway, I just reached out. I was like, oh my God, dude, like we worked like 12 years ago. It was nuts. But he has been working on this plugin for quite some time. And it's a plugin where you sing a part, and he worked and paid these singers, and they gave their consent to like AI their choir vocals, and it turns what you sing into a choir vocal. And I mess with it, and it's really good, and I think hyper useful. It's expensive, but I think unfortunately anything that's going to be ethically done with
Not too
AI
expensive.
is going to be, I mean, it's $170.
Yeah, it's not bad.
Yeah. But it does like the generation on like your laptop, so it's like not connecting to like the internet or whatever to like run it. It's like doing it on your laptop, which I really really like. Some of the other like
There's nothing in
AI
your
voice swaps, they like upload it to a their servers, and then they spit something back out. Really cool. They have like a child choir, they have like a gospel choir, they have like a kind of like a bro-y gang vocal, like, yeah, this is what we do, shit like that. But every time I've used it, it's like any AI thing, you have to, figure out how to use it well. But once you figure it out, it's, again, I'm super impressed with it. I'm actually like really excited to go in on it and like have more products like this that are, someone got paid, is getting paid whatever your version of ethical AI is in terms of music, to have their voice reused. But to me, this seems pretty cool.
Not into it.
Yep, that's fine. Fuck you, Scott.
I like let people sound different. You know what I mean? Like, do it how you can do it.
To me, this is a layering thing.
You're even like a great singer, and you're hanging around great singers all the time. Like, you could do that in like no time.
I
Like, put down
did.
the
I
part.
had a choir that we did, and I added this one on, and it sounded bigger.
Yeah.
It was like that, where I was just like, that's better. Like, I
I don't
it.
like it.
Yeah, I know. I mean, like, listen, it's like, I think people with like anything, I don't want to get into the whole AI thing because just for the sake of time, but it's like, there's going to be products like this that seem a little bit less black and white and more like, okay, like, how do you actually feel about this? And people on the podcast know, I've said it before, it's like, I can't do anything, I feel personally pretty okay if like two people enter into a contract and they're like, cool, we're all cool with this, like, as opposed to Suno, where no one said, was like, yeah, cool, turn off my music,
Are you on board with like Warner artists like have, an opt-out ability, and like that's ethical because they've entered into a contract?
No, it should be opt-in, because most of those contracts weren't done when like AI was a thing. It's,
opt-in or opt-out, like, regardless, like, they don't really have a say.
I don't want to
They
go
don't
super
really
deep
have
into
a
that right
say.
now.
And I would argue that like those kids that sang this choir probably didn't have a say either.
I think they did, but we can go talk. We have plenty of AI thing. I don't want to go too deep into the AI thing right now.
Yeah.
For the sake of time. Okay, the next plugin I want to shout out is a plugin by, I'm going to pronounce these so wrong. The company's Quaiko, Quaiko, and the plugin is called Kiko, Cico. It's an 8-tap pitch shifting creative delay that gives you independent control over the volume, panning, and pitch offset of each individual echo. Stack a tap at 12 plus semitones, another at -4, and build something that sounds like nothing else in your plugin folder. Freeze mode and per tap bend modulation, push it into ambient and textural territory. I messed with this plugin. Really cool ambient shit. It's like a fun thing where it's like you'll stumble into a really cool sound. It's going to be so
cool.
Yeah, it's like, it's like sound design shit. Where
and they have a plugin called Crowd Chamber that turns your choir into a bigger choir.
That's so funny. But yeah, a small plugin company. I've been talking to the dude. I don't know his name because I've just been talking to him on his like the Quaiko page, but he seems really cool and really nice. But the plugin's only $20. It's on sale right now. Definitely check them out. I think it's a really fun, cool sound designy plugin for anyone who's interested in like that. Okay,
40% off for students.
There you go. He likes students. That's a weird thing to say. Let's go into our current events. Speaking of AI, this is where we can get into a little bit more AI. Spotify rolled out their AI persona badges in mid-September that flags artist profiles built around AI-generated identities as AI personas. Music from those profiles will be kept out of personalized recommendations by default. Important distinction, this is about the artist's identity, not how the music was made. A human producer using AI tools is still not flagged. Spotify won't rely on self-disclosure alone. Human reviewers and AI detection tools will also apply the badge. So yeah, I obviously I think this is overall a good thing for our listeners. I kind of said it there that this is not about labeling AI music. So if like that big Rubbers song, that stupid fucking song that is so clearly an AI song, because he's a real person, that would not qualify for this. So that's like the big distinction for me. I'm curious if any of you guys want to like hop in if you have a hot take on this.
How are they going to determine what an AI persona is?
I feel like it's fairly obvious, but yes, as Jay said,
Well, like if I'm an artist and I generate an AI version of my face, am I then an AI persona? Or am I not, just because I'm also a human being? Like, I don't really I mean, more broadly, I don't fucking trust Spotify, and I think they're actually trying to normalize the AI personas by giving them like a colorful badge, like, and being like able to also say on the other side, through the other side of their mouth, like, we're protecting musicians and artists by like calling out the personas. But like nobody gives a shit about the personas. That's not the problem.
No, people do, and I think like Spotify doesn't. They never do anything for us as songwriters and producers and mixers. That is never in their equation, in my opinion.
Well,
this was a user-based decision, because I think users were getting annoyed that they're like, this song, I guess I like it, or they just kept getting pushed like, who the fuck is this, like, clearly AI? And I think it was becoming like I think Spotify is realizing that like this could hurt their bottom line, because people are getting upset that like they're getting pushed certain kinds of music or like bullshit personas, and they don't want it. I think that's really what they're doing it for.
Yeah, I mean, obviously it's not for us, right? Like, I think they have more to gain from AI music being normalized than anybody, right? It's like, if they can eliminate all of the back end that they have to pay, what a world, right? They can just create all of their own AI music and AI personas if people will accept it. So I don't know, man. Like, maybe in the short term, that's a thing where like they have to just maintain users and they're losing users. I don't know.
Yeah, I want
them.
to see what Sam and Jay here, but I'm still on the outs that like Spotify has this big master plan that they're gonna like start making their own AI music and start pushing that.
Well, they already did it without AI, right? Like, they had in-house artists doing all their piano playlists and that shit. That, like, there was this kind of a scandal where everybody's like, all of these artists on this playlist don't actually exist. I can't find them anywhere other than
the lo-fi steady
they were
beats
just generating the music in house. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like their lo-fi ambient stuff.
and
And I think it's like, I know a bunch of like lo-fi ambient artists who like were fucked because of that shit.
Right, and like, I was literally about to say that too. That like, I think that type of music has always kind of been like, you guys might be, anything that's like is pretty easy to make, and in my opinion, that kind of music is pretty easy to make. Is like potentially going, like I call it elevator music, for lack of a better term. Like, if Spotify's making elevator music, I don't care as much. I really don't. Like, I don't want them to, but it's like so low priority for me.
I mean,
agree and disagree, but mainly I feel that it doesn't matter what the genre is, because if people are listening to it, like, it's because they want to feel something, and the thing that is lacking is that thing that they're looking for still. So it's like just lowering the bar more and more for making people feel, or like, regardless of like what their intent is when they put it on.
Scott, by the way, I think your suggestion about the Spotify thing is pretty spot on too, because one of the things I find really fascinating is like just AI, like the AI thing in general. Somehow it always misses like the actual point. So like, for example, it's like a really good homie of mine, Jacob Durrett, he had made a reference before where he was like the way that AI presents, like these AI companies are presenting like, AI and music, is it's like, you like making music, right? Like, not a problem. Well, then I'll make your songs for you. It's like, no, 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 no. It's like telling you to cook at that point, being like, you like cooking, right? Yeah, all you got to do is prep it for me and clean it, and then I'll cook it for you. It's like, no, that I like the cooking portion of that. I actually want you to help me with the prep and the cleanup. You know what I mean? So then, like, here we are, like, where it's like Spotify's like, oh, you have a problem with AI? Well, what you have a problem with is AI artists, right? That's what you have a problem with. It's like, no, 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 we have a problem with AI in the songs, okay? It's not that there's an artist presenting themselves as AI. It's like somehow they always just miss the fucking point. You know what I mean? So it's like, oh, sick. Like, I don't care about fake AI artists. I care about real artists trying to pass off fake AI songs and be like, yeah, that's me, dog. It's like, oh, okay, yeah, that's the issue. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, it's and I think too, like, listeners know my take on this, where it's like, I do think AI in music is a problem that honestly will eventually solve itself. I think people are slowly like picking up on what um what AI music sounds like. They're starting to like pick up on like and be turned off by it slowly. And I think over time it's gonna be this like natural like they're just like gonna push it away. And I think DSPs, every other DSP but Spotify are ahead of them on this, and I think Spotify will eventually catch up, but Spotify always has to do everything last, in my opinion, uh, because they are one of the few DSPs that has to make money. Apple Music doesn't have to make money. Amazon Music doesn't have to make money. YouTube Music doesn't have to make money. Spotify has to make money, and therefore their calculus for things are different, whether we like that calculus or not. But
What about Tidal?
I mean, Tidal, yes, but like Tidal is such a non-player to me, just because of the small user base.
Yeah, but they came in early with the policy though. I don't remember what it was, but
they had the best policy. They're not paying out AI generated songs. But then there's like, which is the correct policy to have. But then you have like the problem where now a lot of these like software, like people who are making music that is, how do I phrase this, easily replicatable, like it's getting pinged by the AI and then they're getting demonetized and people are like, what the hell? Like, like now I'm not getting paid. And again, as I said earlier,
that's a real problem. Yeah.
There's gives and takes with everything. Nothing is ever going to be perfect. Like you want, AI is never going to be perfect in any aspect. And if we're relying on AI to find the AI songs, it's not going to be perfect. So do we want to have that system? It's a very like American view on things where it's like we have to fix 100% of the problem, and it's like, well, I'd like if we could fix 95% of it and like deal with the other 5%. If that's gonna like help it.
I mean, I think a lot of that particular problem where you face an issue when you try to just remove AI music or demonetize music by identifying the music, like you said, there's going to be casualties. But I think the actual problem there, because that was happening before AI music, because related to like bot plays or like fake streams or whatever, and they would demonetize people's music, and they'd be like, I never did any of that shit. It was just on this playlist, and the playlist got flagged or whatever. So like, that problem, I think, is actually that artists don't have a relationship with their distributor. Like when your distributor is DistroKid, like you have no recourse.
Yeah, and it's usually like, again, it's like usually like artists that like, all right, how much money were you making from your music anyway? Like you made $100 last month from me. Like I'm not saying it doesn't matter, but like it's how big is the problem? Where if it's like you're again, if you're an artist that's like really doing well and you're an artist that has like over 100,000 monthly listeners, you're so much less likely, I feel like, to get. I don't know. I don't know how.
Well, and even if you're less likely or more likely, I don't think really matters, because the probability is that you have a distributor that you can call when it happens and be like, hey, this is wrong.
Exactly.
Yeah,
yes.
There's recourse. Yeah. And I think, most people unfortunately don't have that recourse because we're all participating with these giant distributors that don't pay attention to anybody.
Yeah. And to give at least Spotify credit, just having just recently uploaded a song for my own artist project, I had a problem and they were actually very responsive to like fix things. So like, to give them credit, they were good.
Did they break it or did you break it?
I totally fucked up. It was my fault. I had no idea what I was doing.
It's always user error, dude.
Oh yeah, 1,000%. Our next topic is Phoebe Bridgers releases her third solo album, Lost Weekend. It dropped August 14th, her first album since Punisher came out in 2020, so 6 years between the records. It was produced by Jack Antonoff, Ethan Gruska, Tony Berg, and Alex G. Tour has sold out within hours, 6 years, and now she's playing MSG. Anyway, just incredible. I don't know if you guys got a chance to listen to it. Did you guys listen to it yet?
I popped on the first track before the pod, and I was a little bummed that it opened with the vocoder. Felt like it should have come out 6 years ago.
What about you, Sam? Did you get a chance to listen to it yet?
I actually watched both of the live performances that she did, one with the kids and one with the old guys or whatever. And I
It was
preferred
so
that
cool.
version of the song than the album version. I thought the album version seemed a
Really?
little, yeah, I was like, oh, sick, I want to hear the album version of this. And then I was a little confused. It felt like it's funny because like especially for like a Jack record, I feel like what Jack is really good at is like breaking it down to the core and like kind of getting it to the boring state and making the boring state be beautiful somehow, which I find kind of boring for most of his stuff. I'm like I mean, my favorite example that I tell people is like that one Taylor Swift song that he did that came on that one album. I think it's like the bad whatever. I don't know whatever that song was that had like a classic Juno, not even that cool of a song. And if I like showed anyone, it was like, yeah, here's this artist I'm working on, they'd be like, nice, that's cute, Sam. But if you're like, oh, that's Taylor Swift, they're like, oh, that'll be the most streamed song on Spotify. Let me tell you, you know. So I find it like a little
Right.
underwhelming. But what I found was like fascinating was that the version of that song was like pretty overproduced and like done in a lot of like different ways. So I don't know. I feel like it's like maybe a Wilco Yankee Hotel Foxtrot. Like it's got a lot of things going on to it and like a lot of like emotions and ambience and like world building that you kind of got to tap into. So I'd have to like really dive into it. Obviously, she's really phenomenal and like talented, and I really like I admire her. But I have yet to like find a connection with the Phoebe Bridgers song more than watching those two live performances. I was like, oh, well, these are really cool. And I have yet to like find that in her records and my listening experience personally.
Yeah, I mean, listen, full disclosure, I'm a pretty big Phoebe Bridgers fan and have been for quite some time. Like
Well,
I
Punisher
got,
was amazing.
yeah, I mean, I got on early because of my wife, to be honest. She's a huge like Connor Oberst fan, and Connor was bringing her onto shit like
Yeah,
fucking
that's
15
missed me
years ago.
before too. So like it's kind of like I get
Yeah,
that world, but it's never like been a world that has like resonated with me. But I don't think that it's
yeah,
not good. You know what I mean? I just know that
yeah.
it's not, it hasn't connected.
Yeah. Phoebe is like, for a specific person. And then like, the last 6 years there's been too many Phoebe copycats. But this
Hmm.
album, yeah, it's funny. If like I didn't see that Jack Antonoff was a producer on it, I wouldn't have guessed he did it. It doesn't like he's not exactly like what Sam said. He's not
It
doing that
doesn't carry
Jack
the
Antonoff
thumbprint
thing.
of a Jack.
No, which I think is good. I think the secret was, it seems like to me, just like looking at the credits, is that she wrote all these songs and then they went in and produced them all completely separate. Which I love that process. That's how I would
Love
love to
that.
do every
Love that.
record that I work on. But yeah, it's just like everything feels like grand. It feels overproduced, not in a bad way. I'm not saying that in a bad way. It just like it feels overproduced where it's like because they did. Tony Berg is one of my favorite producers right now. Dude is like almost 70 and like hitting his stride, which I find so fucking amazing. Working with Phoebe and
Wasn't Bo
Somber.
Burnham super involved on this too? I haven't really finished his like Netflix Inside thing that he did or whatever, but obviously like that was super
Yeah,
amazing. And like
he's
he's a boyfriend and like
I
is
think they're
pretty involved, I
dating
think. Yeah.
from what I understand, and
Yeah.
he like wrote a couple songs with her. Who
He
knows if that
sings
means
on at least one.
yeah, and he's sick, but like again, I know his voice, and if I didn't know he was in the credits, I wouldn't have said, "Oh, that's Bo in there."
Yeah,
Like you can't.
exactly. But it's cool that he's
Yeah,
involved and it's
it
cool that
seems
they
like
have that
yeah,
together as well too.
Yeah, that's cool.
yeah. No, really
You
amazing. But
wrote
no,
on you wrote on a couple.
yeah. I mean, the record, it definitely is like a thing where it's like listen to the whole thing. I think like listening to one song here or there, it's like it's not quite as clear. For me, what was really fun, my favorite part of the records, they had oh my God, why am I blanking out on the band name? And they're like one of my
Nickel
favorite
Creek.
bands. Nickel Creek, Jesus Christ. She had Nickel Creek
Shout out
play
to
on
Eric
two
Valentine.
records, and those, yeah,
Yeah.
yes, exactly. That record that I did with them
Yeah.
is one of my favorite albums. I was just having a brain fart. And anyway, so they're on two of the records, and those are like two of my favorite. But I also like
It's funny how
love
you keep
Nickel
calling it
Creek.
records and I keep getting confused every time. Like, you mean songs?
Dude, the
What?
same thing happens with my other homie that like produces
right.
bands all the time. He's like, why do you guys keep saying record, an album or a song? Like, fucking
To me, it's
decide.
like
Record of the year
records
or
are
album of the
on
year, I'm really
albums. Like, yeah. I like
That's
do
so
now do the
funny,
Grammy
dude.
thing where it's like it's a record and then there's like song. I don't know. I just because I think like I'm a songwriter, but then
I'm not
I
faulting you.
produce
I'm
and that's
just
a
saying it's funny
yeah.
that
No, I know.
this is
More
not
for our
my
It does,
listeners.
talk.
honestly, though, it
Yeah.
honestly does feel like a little bit like LA. It feels kind of LA.
Totally,
Yeah.
1,000%. But I'm in LA.
We make
Yeah.
records. Records.
I'm making records out here.
Also known as songs, but records.
Yeah.
Conor Oberst, by the way, is one of my least favorite musicians.
He's
See, I felt the way
so
too.
hot and cold
Like,
for people.
like the Ryan Adams, Conor Oberst. Like, it's never hit me. You know what I mean? So, like, I get like
Yeah.
that she's like probably like the best modernized like version of that, and like the most like holistic and like ethical, encompassing like thing. You know, like because it's funny because I remember finding. It's funny because my wife is a neuropsychologist, and like when she was going to grad school, and she was like, "Hey, what do you know about Daniel Johnston?" I'm like, "I don't know shit. What are you talking about?" And then she was like, "I watched this amazing documentary about this guy. Like he hung out with like Sonic Youth and stuff. He seems like someone you should like check out." So I learned about Daniel Johnston because my wife told me to watch this documentary about him. And like once I watched that documentary, I was like, Bright Eyes, Carter, like all this shit is just like a fucking whack fucking cosplay of fucking Daniel Johnston, who's just this tortured, like autistic, like savant, you know. But yeah, I feel like I feel like Phoebe is like the modernized like version that is really easy to market of that. You know what I mean? Not like to discount her talent. You know, she just encompasses that vibe, you know, and that whole kind of genre and era.
I never quite connected those dots, but yeah, dude, that's right on.
Dude, I mean, like full disclosure, like it took me maybe 2 years to get into Bright Eyes and Conor Oberst because like my wife might be their biggest fan.
Yeah,
if not one of their
well,
biggest
that's the other thing
fans.
too. Is like
Brutal.
if you like,
Get
there's
a
no people
divorce.
who just like Bright Eyes. They're fans. They're obsessed fans, and like you have tattoos, and that's your favorite songwriter of all time. Otherwise, like you're like, yeah, I've heard of that band. I don't really check it out, or you don't know of them. You know what I mean? Like there's like those are the three people that there are. You know?
Yeah,
I think they're just trying to prove that they can appreciate bad music. It's just like it's a flex. Like I can like this. I can listen to this guy.
Listen, as the years go by, my wife like she also has a neuro science psychology degree, but she actually does.
That's funny, and I bet your wife also loves me without you.
A little bit. She's not super into them, but
see, I mean, I'm not far off, dude.
But she has like such good music taste where it's like stuff that like she put me onto like literally when we first met like 15 years ago is now like the National, you know, like Phoebe, like all these artists that are now like super big or like people that kill. I don't know. It's just like
really
I find
organic,
it very funny. I'm just like, damn,
savant
like,
people. Yeah, I get it.
Songwriting stuff. Okay. We're gonna wrap up the podcast here. How we always wrap up our roundtables with in the bounce folder. This is where our guests get to plug something that they want to talk about, whether it's a record they're worked on, a new piece of gear that they got, something in their personal lives, whatever you guys want to talk about. This is your time. Sandman, I'll start with you.
Man, I got a lot of things to talk about. Yes, how much time we got here?
Yeah.
All right, so you briefly mentioned it earlier, and I guess it's on brand for our thing, but I've been working very hard for a very long time on my Panda Drums chromatic drum library. And this has been like before we even created Liquid Death Snare, I had started working on this. But finally, I got a working beta of this and have been auditioning and using it recently, and it's been really incredible. But basically, like as we talked about, like doing pre-production from the start, I would rather just program some things and get a basic thing going so that we can like, what is your kick and snare pattern, and then we can go from there. You know what I mean? Like, who cares about fill? Let's make kick and drums perfect. So my new plugin, which is probably, I don't even know when it's going to come out, but at least it is in a beta stage. every kick, you can go to the kick drum and change it to every possible note. I recorded every single kick and every single possible note. Did it with all the toms. Did it with 4 different snares at every single possible note. There's like some snares have 2 octaves, most of them are 1 octave. But yeah, it's incredible to be like C major drum kit, and it sounds fucking awesome. And like,
That's
yeah,
sick.
so we've been working really hard on that for a really long time, and there's still a lot of work ahead on that. But I'm really excited about it, and it's awesome just to like have it sound great. I also played all the drum samples on that. No big deal, dude.
There
And
you
then
go.
yeah, I've been working on a pretty complicated record right now with a band called A Lot Like Birds. There's highest highs, lowest lows, all in between, going making a record is going to war, but it's going really well. That'll come out at some point and will be kind of crazy. Besides that, we have another plugin that I'm hoping is going to come out on Valentine's Day as my big wish, but it's basically it's called Crush, Valentine's theme. But it's basically
There we go.
models the C2 Smart SSL C2 Crush bus, and we modeled like a bunch of different other SSL bus comps. So it's like the FET compressor or the VU compressor where you could switch between the models of it. It's a SSL bus, but you could switch between which of the models of the SSL bus, and they all sound so fucking similar but so different in subtle ways. And it's just been really awesome. Really excited about that. I'll send you a beta, by the way, Scott. You'll probably enjoy it. But yeah, like. So many betas been going on, like a lot of shit been going on. Life is kind of crazy. And yeah, I'm pretty excited to be alive and doing it.
Sick. Well, that's amazing. And we'll have it in the show notes, but check out Purified Audio. All the plugins are great. I've talked about them plenty on the podcast already. Scott,
Get
man,
the
what about
panda
you?
room. Get the panda room.
Get the panda room.
Scott,
Get
you're
the
the
panda
most
room.
kind of son. Thank you, dude. Yeah.
Get the panda room. Just get it. I got a lot of stuff in the bounce folder, a lot of mixes going on, a lot of stuff with live drums, which is exciting because that's not always the case for me. And I get a lot of stuff. I'll go months without getting any live drums, and it's cool to have some stuff in there. I'm pretty bad at tracking releases these days, so we'll just have to see.
Yeah.
They never tell me, I just
know.
send the mix and then it comes out someday.
It comes
Like, I
out
don't know.
eventually.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I did want to talk about a little thing I'm developing with Pharaoh. You know Pharaoh, the producer and artist. He goes by Pharaoh Pop, I think.
No, but
Well, he created this little Reaper script that is meant to like check phase coherency, if you're going to use a plugin on a parallel bus. And so he made this little Reaper script that it dumps it into a bunch of frequency bins, and you can see basically if this plugin is safe to use in parallel or not, essentially. And so I'm just kind of flipping that into a little standalone app, and I think that's going to be really good for drum stuff and people that want to do parallel processing to
That's
be able
smart.
to
I would
figure out
use that
which
because there's so many times I use a plugin. I'm like, something's not right. Something's
There's
off.
a lot of plugins that are just incompatible with parallel processing for the way they're designed or the way they report their latency or who knows? Like nobody really knows. I think all of us have probably been through the process of like, okay, what actually works good on a parallel bus, and like, let me use that. Then I just was like, this is a great idea, dude. Like, let's turn this into a little standalone app. I think people are going to love this. So we'll see. Hopefully, we can get it kind of wrapped up pretty fast and just get it around.
All right, well, be on the lookout for that. I'm sure if you follow Scott on socials, he'll let you know.
Yeah, I'll keep you updated
when they do it. My in the bounce folder is empty, and I'll tell you why. I was just in Vermont for 10 days. The couple days before that, I wasn't working because my youngest didn't have any daycare, so I was taking time off. So I haven't had a session since, I want to say almost July at this point. Yeah, since July 31st was my last set. No, not even that, because I had jury duty that I didn't have to go to. So my last session was July 28th. Long story short, that's like one of the longer times I haven't had a session. And it's been great. And I love that I took some time off. And I have I have sessions, and I didn't work today and tomorrow because my oldest doesn't start school till Wednesday. So anyway, long story short, I'm very much looking forward to going back and writing, and I love that. Because before this, I was doing, I don't know, since like the beginning of the year, I've just been going very hard nonstop, no time off, except for weekends. And yeah, so I think it's important that we all take our R&R and take our time off and get excited about music again. Like I'm literally looking at my calendar and like I have a couple days where I'm like, oh yeah, I'm like itching to get back in, itching to write, itching to produce, itching to do the thing. And that's good because when I don't have that itch, I hate doing this. And it does
Do
happen
you
sometimes.
do you have advice for your listeners about like how to deal with the mindset when you're like going on trips or taking a vacation, and like what you do leading up to that, and the way it changes how you feel coming back? Because I know like I think everybody knows this feeling where you're like about to go on a trip and you're like, oh my God, I have so much stuff to get done. And like, there's no way I'm going to get it done, but I'm going to just like work the hardest I've ever worked. Like, and I
Yeah,
feel
every
like
trip I go on,
as I've
like when
gotten,
I get there, I like throw up because I like was so jet lagged and like stayed up so late and didn't eat. And then I'm like, all right, now we're here and I'm gonna like drink beer and eat. And then I'm like, ah! Like, yeah.
yeah, and there's always a little bit, there's like always like the need to like do some work while you're on vacation. And that can be a really hard balance to find where it's like, I have stuff to do, but also I'm trying to take a break, but people need things. And like, you can deal with it by turning all of it off. You can deal with it by being very available. You can like really try to hustle before a trip, or you can just kind of work normally. I'm curious what your take is.
Yeah, I definitely try like the days up before the trip. I'm trying to get like bounces out and stuff that like I'm just like I just want to get this done because I don't want people to hit me up because I'm gonna be gone for 2 weeks. I'm trying to get it all out. I like definitely miss like one or two, but I'm just like whatever. It is what it is, you know. But I really like I don't open my laptop. I'll bring my stuff with me just in case because my anxiety does not let me not bring my shit. Because like if something comes up and it's like, hey, so and so big artist wants to cut your record, we need stems today. I want to be able to do that. But for the most part, so I think like the fact that because I can do it, I don't have to makes me feel better. If that
Yeah, that makes
makes
all this. And I do the same thing
you
where I'm
know.
just like, I'm not going to work, but I am going to bring everything.
Yeah, because it puts me at ease, and it's not that much stuff. It's my laptop, my hard drives, and I bring my Apollo, my twin, and it's like that's all I really need, and it fits very nicely in my backpack, and then I'm good to go, and that's all.
I'll say like as
So
the mixer, it's gotten a little bit easier where it's like most of the time I can't do anything. Like, sorry, dude, like there's
Right.
hardware on the mix and this is what the mix sounds like. So it's going to
yeah,
wait.
yeah,
Sorry.
that makes sense.
But I
We
definitely
lost.
like also valued when I was younger and producing and hustling and just like doing it all the time and
Yeah,
just like, really committed to the bit.
yep, yep. But time off is good. All right, we lost Sam, which is
Well,
okay.
I think this podcast is over. Feels
Yeah,
over.
he's done. All right, he's back. He's back. He was just
He's
getting.
like,
I am here. I am
hey,
walking
yeah, fuck
around and
this
cleaning up.
podcast.
Yeah, yeah. I'm
No,
listening.
it's all
Yeah.
good. It's all good. We went a little long. We're gonna wrap here. But thank you to Scott, Sam, and Jay who I don't know what happened. I guess I'll text them. I'll see what happened.
His phone definitely
Probably had to go
died.
track some
We'll
drums.
figure. Yeah, who knows? But
Yeah,
thank you
Captain
to you
Midnight with
guys.
the
Thank you to our
Captain Midnight
listeners. Yeah. And take care, guys. Thanks for listening to Producer Points. If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe, leave a rating, and share it with someone who loves music as much as you do. A huge thank you to our team, Nathan Rebello and Elijah Shepard. You can check out all the songs we've talked about on our Producer Points Spotify playlist. And if you want the full episode, join the Producer Pals community on Patreon. Links in the notes. Until next time, this is Justin Gamella.